People, here we are. I have been looking at this date on the calendar. It's our grand finale for the Underground Book Club. And I've been very excited. I've had a mix of emotions. Very excited because it's going to be crazy. It's going to be unscripted, unplugged, off the hook. We're going to try some things on Facebook Live that I've never done before. I've never switched between multiple people and educators and guests. So who knows how that'll go. But I know I have some awesome people lined up who have been leaders in participating and such over the course of the week. So first off, we're going to kick it off with a friend of mine, Chris Dodge. He's actually Chris.
Brad, we did it.
How you doing? We did it. Wow. We're
whole
one
thing.
For one. I know.
The propping of the phone. I'm like,
yes.
Oh.
I know. Don't bump it. Don't bump it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
hilarious. So Chris, myself, and the Quita Outlaw actually have been collaborating behind the scenes for months on this, and I'll give credit where credit is due. Chris has been kind of a mastermind puppet master on a lot of these crazy ideas, and he's really pushed me to try things that I'm quite frankly not comfortable. I don't know how to do yet, but it's been awesome.
It really has. There's been a lot of, I don't know if this is going to work moments, but
Right.
That's what learning is, right? So
yeah,
it's all
exactly.
good. It's all good.
And I honestly, I woke up not in a cold sweat last night, but I did wake up. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going to work tomorrow? Or, like right now. But so far we're good. So,
Yes,
Chris,
here we are.
While we have you on the phone, on the Facebook, a couple things. We're just going to have a great conversation and kind of connect it to chapter 8 and the epilogue as well. But I want to quickly mention a couple things. So Chris has been leading, we call them the after party. So after every one of these Facebook Lives, or anytime you listen, really, hop on over to Twitter on hashtag Underground Book Club. And Chris and Laquita are leading some really great conversations that trickle into the week as well. And they have some takeaway. We joke, we don't know if we call it homework or missions, but whatever you want to call it. Cool applications for educators to kind of try to grow and to connect.
So one of the things that's been really fun for me has been, first of all, Brad, thank you for allowing me to do this because I was like really excited about doing something kind of neat and fun that's a little different too. And because this book felt kind of new and different and refreshing. So I wanted to match that. And so I thought, let's do something kind of neat. And the conversation's really been around how do we continue this dialogue, use this book as kind of a platform or a way to kind of start a conversation, but then kind of bring that to a different level, which feels really good and doesn't feel like homework, but feels like something I feel like the people who really own this book and believe in it are the people who are going to want to bring this conversation to lots of different people. And so that's been really fun for me and really exciting actually to get around a group of people who kind of believe what I believe, which is reaffirming that this work is really deeper than sometimes it's made to be. So it's been really awesome. And these chats have been just great for me to connect with other people who have just really pushed me to think differently as well. So.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning a few things because when I was writing it, and actually I think I wrote in the acknowledgments in the back that thank you, Paige Kuros, thank you, George Kuros, because we did write a book that felt different than a lot of books that I had read in the past. And I don't know if that was good or bad, but there is something different about it.
Yeah.
So the thing, how I equate that to kind of the book and our work as educators is what we pulled off collectively together, all of us through these conversations and just approaching it a little bit differently is, for me personally, I'll just speak for myself, kind of getting out of my comfort zone and setting things up and taking a leap of faith and not having a roadmap, especially for tonight with trying to get through several people, which may sound like not a big deal to some people, but I barely know how to turn this Facebook on, let alone cycle through people and try to do that. So I think it shows that even in education, we don't necessarily need a path illuminated or all spelled out for us. We just have to rely on really holding on to the heart, mind, and hope. We have instincts. We have things that we know are always going to work with the relationships with kids and colleagues. And if we don't abandon that, if we cling to that, we can actually do a lot together, even if we don't quite know where our foot's going to land.
Right. And so I was thinking as I, was reflecting on this tonight, it's about, for me, it's been really exciting and refreshing to kind of get back to basics and really get myself centered around what am I here to do. And that's challenging because we're in a state, I think, in our profession where we like this, we like to look at data because it's very easy to collect, and it does make us feel good when we see kids making growth, and that's all good stuff. But we know that the most important stuff is that intangible, long-term kind of stuff that we do for kids, those, changing life outcomes. So I was, thinking about how do we get back to reflecting on that with our teachers, with our staff, and getting them to think about, what we're really here to do. Because it can be challenging to get back to really the heart of the work and really putting our relationships with kids first. And sometimes those things are misperceived, quite honestly. When you see me out in the hall or you're talking with kids, sometimes you think, well, how does that get perceived by either a staff member or a community member? Like, there's an awkward moment there where you feel like, am I really doing what I should be doing? Which is hard because as a teacher, that's what we're there to do as an educator. So it's really brought me back to remembering what it is that we're there to do, even though that's hard to measure in the short term, but
what you're saying must be resonating because you're getting all kinds of smiley face things blowing up on the comments below. So thanks to Susie.
It might be my mom. I don't know.
Yeah. You said something that really resonated when you were talking about student achievement, and we want kids to do really well academically, and we want to qualify that. And this is the legacy part in the book. We want it to be learning that lasts. So right. I don't think any educators like us, we're not going to be satisfied with just kids achieving at a high level.
Right.
You've got to have the relationships and kids be able to transfer and use that tomorrow to make a difference. The job's not over when they get the A or when our school is at 90% or 100% of kids achieving. It's what can they do the very next day to make a difference with what we tried to cultivate and impart on them.
Right. And I know you and I have talked about this a lot when this book was coming out about how, and I knew this was a good fit for me because it was really about you can't do one without the other. You have to build relationships to do the important work. And so I want them both. I want kids growing every year. And sometimes I get this feeling from, sometimes I get the question about, well, if you're putting relationships first, you're sacrificing academics or rigor. Where I would say the two, you have to do one before the other. And I would say I want to see growth in my school and in our students, but I also want these kids coming back in 2 years and sharing with us and connecting with us via our social media sites. I mean, you can do both. And I think that's really the impact we want to have. We want to show kids that there's hope and that they have opportunities that maybe they haven't seen that they have had, maybe in their family. Maybe this is something new for them, that they could have some paths that they've never considered, but also that you just don't leave us and we say goodbye, that our community is a true community and we want you to come back and we want to see what you're doing and hear from you. So that's really to me, that's the really important stuff that I want us and our staff to do.
I was having a conversation with a couple of really talented educators in our school today, and we are trying to plan some I don't know if intervention is the right word, but some important things to do for a student. And then also that would be meaningful for the family. And the three of us, I mean, if I'm being honest, it was mainly them. I was kind of listening, but we were coming up with some really cool, important, different ways to connect and support learning and make a difference. But we had this epiphany because we were trying to double check, like, is this good? Is this the right work? Will this make a difference? And we came to this, we said it out loud, really there has to be a relationship for any of this to work or matter, because absent that foundation, the very best teacher, principal, intervention probably could fall flat on his face. But when that relational foundation is there, which is so critical, when that core is there, I mean, we can move mountains together.
And I always feel good about any decision that I make with a team as long as that kid is at the center of the decision, right? So if we say we have this problem that we need to collaborate on, let's take that child into consideration, their strengths, their hopes, and let's build something around them. End of the day, I'm always happy with that because we tend to sometimes want to build a model and have the kids fit into it. and that it may work in the short term, but it takes away that critical factor of the kid. And so now it's really thinking differently about who's the kid and who are our kids as a whole, and how do we model around them, not the other way around. And so I'm always good if we say, you know what, this is the best thing for that kid. We have to think outside the box. You have to do a lot of things that get sticky and tricky, but that's the work. And so it's hard work, quite honestly.
And it almost seems like the work that you can't really have a regret if your heart was 100% in it for kids, and everything was kind of catered and custom around individual kids and the kids in your school. And if something doesn't quite work out, then you can monitor and adjust. But if you had some other compass point and that didn't quite work, then I don't feel quite so good about the process. So, hey, Chris, we're going to try two things here in just a minute. I'm nervous. I'm kind of stalling. I want to try to flip over to another member of our Underground Book Club.
Okay.
So jump, but don't bail, because I don't know if I'll be able to successfully flip. So just hang with us for a second.
You got it.
Before we try to execute this maneuver, later at 7:30, so just in like 20 minutes or so, we'll be meeting you on Twitter for #Underground Book Club, the chat. Do you want to tease out a question for people who are listening right now where they can kind of wet their whistle and be thinking, and even maybe dive into the comment section on Facebook?
Sure. So what we're going to be talking about tonight, and I'll tease a little bit, is talking about how we talk a lot about that child-centered ruckus. So how do you disrupt the norm? And also, how do you include students' voice in your school and in your classroom? So some things to think about is how can we do that? And how can we share what we're doing to make each other better in our schools? So,
okay, that's such a good teaser. I can't not enter into that super quickly. So on Facebook, if you're listening, and some people just do the Facebooks too, so I want to give them a chance to interact. We would love to hear like ways that you amplify student voice, whether it's fancy and big and moonshot thinking, or just tangible every single day thinking that you apply. Share, and then we can kind of learn along with you, because if 30 or 100 people share, that's a lot of ideas for everyone to walk away with. Okay, Chris, you've been awesome. I'll see you on Twitter, but don't leave me hanging yet.
I will.
I just want to try. I've honestly never done this before. I should stop worrying about it and just try. But I think I'm going to try to scroll through and find our next mystery person. Here we go. Let's see here. Okay, I'm still trying here, Chris.
No worries.
Give us something to think about, so you don't have to see me fumbling through how to execute this tech maneuver.
So I guess while you're doing that, Brad, I'll say we're going to drop even though it's the last chat tonight, we're still going to drop a mission, and this goes back to Brad and I. Our really long-term conversation around this chat is we want you to think about, when you're done this book, is what you're going to do with it, and really passing along the book and the message to other people. So we want this Underground Book Club not to be something that's static and under a certain time frame, but we want it to be an ongoing conversation. So just something to also think about. If you have the book and love the book, be thinking about who's that person that would also love that book and be someone you'd want to dialogue with and talk about with and reflect with. How's it going?
It's going. I think my issue and my challenge, and maybe someone watching can help with this. You can only see so many comments at once on Facebook. So some of the people we had lined up to join us in kind of ambush, I'm not seeing. So I'm trying to find them. Okay, so Katie, I want to get Katie on. But Katie, can you go in to access our Facebook Live feed from the link that I tagged you in? Because I feel like if you go out and come in through our link, we'll be able to get you, Katie. And while she's doing that, I'll encourage Julie to do the same. We had Julie lined up too. Chris, while I got you on and while we're waiting to transition, here's a question. Remember, we were cultivating the voices of the actual Underground Book Club. This one comes from Daniel Gridley. He's been very active this entire few months. So this is a big one. What is your mindset as a school leader when viewing every classroom in your building through parents' eyes?
Wow.
And I know, he doesn't mince words. That's a really great and deep question. And I was thinking about it, and to be honest with you, I struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
For me, easier, or it's more natural, probably because I try to practice it more, to try to see things through kids' eyes, and because I probably dialogue and I'm shoulder to shoulder with them every single day. So how do I try to look at situations through parents' eyes? And one of the things I do is more or less when for example, when I'm doing observations, and sometimes I'm just like, yes, like that is awesome. Not only just to be a kid, but parents have got to love that their kids get to do that too. That brings me into those moments, but I'm less good. I'm not as good as consistently looking at things through parents' eyes. When I reach out to them, or when parents reach out to me, I feel like I do a pretty good job getting into that mindset. But I would love to hear if you have any tools or tips to help with that.
So I'll admit that I'm not as good at that either. It's a great question. And actually, I'm going to think about that tomorrow when I'm in classrooms. But really, what I try to do is think about when I go into every classroom, what are those things, what are those pillars that we've decided are really important, and also thinking about the teacher on a growth continuum. So I also have this great view of a teacher from just like a kid. I see them from a start point to where they are now. And I try to really tailor my feedback and my questioning towards them and where I've seen them, the conversations we've had, and really trying to reflect with them around some of the things that I'm noticing. From a parent perspective, that's a little challenging because I'll be quite honest. We're in a pretty traditional community, and some of the things we're trying to do that are innovative or a little different sometimes can be, I hate to say misperceived, but they see schooling the way they went to school. So to put myself in a parent perspective, they would probably expect to see more traditional kind of practices. And so I've found myself having to explain things to parents like flexible seating, why we've gone away from homework, some of those things, which have been great, and they've been great conversations. But as far as being in a classroom and looking at things from a parent perspective, that's something I'm going to try, because it's not something that I've actually done intentionally.
Hey, Chris, I was able to get, I got Katie and Julie in the queue.
Super.
So I'm going to be able to flip over. So it's been real. Really
Thanks, Brad.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
and we'll
it.
see you on Twitter in a little bit.
All right. Take care.
Take care, buddy. Cassie, I'm reading the comments as we're talking too here. Cassie is asking about a summer book study. It's funny you ask. We're actually planning something in the background that would be meaningful, because the whole point is, like with Chris all along, how do we develop meaningful conversations that center on connectedness, creating meaning, and then that possibility thinking, or Chris and I like to call it creating a child-centered ruckus. So Cassie, if you have specific ideas that would help us accomplish that together, then we're all in for that. We don't want to do a study just to do a study, but if there's a way to have it do that for you and for kids, reach out to me. Okay, here I go. Coming for you, Katie. I had her in the queue. We're going Julie now. Okay, Chris, I think I'm learning as we go. Are you able to? Yeah, are you able to bop out? And do you know how to do that, or should I try to figure it out?
But I can do it.
Okay. In here. All right, we are doing so great here for the first time. We got Julie coming on, and Julie is coming at us live from Oklahoma, right, Julie?
Oklahoma. It's me, bingo. I want to yell bingo.
Well, I'm going to confess that I must be feeling awfully vulnerable, because the first musical I ever saw as a kid was Oklahoma, and I saw it with my family in Oklahoma. But that's not the vulnerable part. My first concert I ever saw in person was the Beach Boys at the Minnesota State Fair, and I don't know if I should be proud of that or not, but here I am.
I don't know about that.
Julie, so we got a teeny bit behind because I'm still learning how to do all the switching and stuff with the tech. But I would love to hear, do you have a question that either you and I can lean into, or just the Underground Book Club can talk about before we try to flip over to Katie? Get us going. Okay. Get us going, right. Julie.
Here is my question. And first of all, thank you for not asking me to have a hot dog eating contest like in chapter 8, because I didn't want to do that tonight. So anyway, here's my question. I wanted to tell you, the first time I remember seeing you on social media, you were talking about using augmented reality to do a transition activity at your school. you created some kind of a game, and I don't remember the name of the game, but it was something like
Gotcha.
Go.
Oh, so yeah, we did
What was that?
based off Pokemon Go. We called it
That's right.
Grizzleman Go because our
Yes.
school mascot is a grizzly bear. Yeah.
Yes. So you created a game to where you invited students into your school ahead of time to not only tour, but to really get some helpful information for families coming to your school, or that's what it looked like to me. That's my first memory of you on social media.
We'll go with that. It was very meaningful.
Right. So I've been working on transitioning for a long time. I think that my view of transitioning to school changed when I became a parent. Of course, your view of everything changes when you become a parent. And I just remember when my child began school, I was a mess. I was a wreck, and I was the principal.
And is this in kindergarten, Julie? Is that what you mean?
In pre-K. I had hired all of the staff, trained all the staff, built the building, and I was the principal, and I'm still a mess. So I just worry about our families and how they transition to school, in between grades, to the next school building, and even offering transitioning back to our buildings to continue to keep those relationships tight. So here's the question.
Okay.
What are you doing, or are other people doing, that are out of the box, creative, innovative ways for transitioning? Because I think transitioning is the building block to those strong relationships.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's outstanding. Great. Can't wait to hear what people kind of thinking or conversing. And since we have you on, it's just be fun to lean into that question a little bit. So I'll share one thing that our team is doing, and then I'd love to hear what you and your crew are up to. One of the things we do at the 5th grade level, so to help support our 5th graders who know our school really well and their families who have been really comfortable there and they're ready to take what's a big jump to middle school, is we do a couple things. We do a parent event first where we have parents come in, and it's kind of a seminar where we have middle school staff along with a few alumni. So former Greenwood kids who are now middle schoolers will come in and actually field questions from parents. And what I've noticed through the years is that helps put parents' minds at ease just a little bit. So they're more, their capacity to help their kids feel comfortable is increased. And then a little bit later, a few days or weeks later, we repeat the process and we do the same thing with students. And their questions are a lot different. A lot of times kids ask about lockers and combinations and lots of other good stuff too. But that's kind of the 1-2 punch that comes to mind to support their transition. So what's a tip or a practice you have, Julie?
So one thing that we have done the past 3 or 4 years is open our building before even the staff comes, just to put families at ease, because a lot of them are new to the district and they're unfamiliar with the facility. Of course, my site serves pre-K and kindergarten children, and there are all sorts of questions and concerns with our early learners. All sorts of things that maybe older students, those questions wouldn't come up. Where is the bathroom? How do they line up? How do they get outside? How do we pick them up by car? What about lunches? Just a lot of basic care questions that maybe older students wouldn't be concerned about. So we offer all sorts. We used your go-go idea and created that with augmented reality. We've done it with QR codes. We've done it with bingo. Just offering different formats so that we get our families in to get to know the facility way even before we get to know the school staff. Mm-hmm. I think also opening up our libraries and offering opportunities for families to get to come in and have moments of literacy are important. So I'd be interested with anyone listening, what are other principals across the map doing? Because I would love to learn what other people are doing for transitioning. One thing also that I love, the next site in our district is a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade site. Mm-hmm. So in September, our 1st graders come back to visit our building. And it's an amazing opportunity to see those 1st graders and how they're just a little bit older, a little bit taller, a little bit more mature. They come back, they parade through, and we get to cheer for them. We get to see how they've grown up and just gone on to that next level of learning. And it's such a wonderful moment in time where we get to just go, oh my gosh, look at them. They're doing an amazing job. because it's always bittersweet when they go to that next step of learning away from our site. But it's so amazing to see them come back. So I'm really thinking about that on a
you're pulling it
level.
all. You're pulling at all the heartstrings. So Julie, you triggered with something. Chapter 8 is called Hot Dogs and Hope. And the final part or section of the book is all on hope, because we've got to hold on to the hope in education. And there's a lot on innovation in that, because part of hope I equate to innovation, but it's not just the tech or the augmented reality or things like that, how we kind of entered into this. So here's the quote that I think really supports this conversation. Innovation is the process and thinking that makes meaningful change possible. It's an opportunity to see school through the eyes of the learner and a responsibility to do things differently as a result. It's rarely a thing. So one of the most innovative things we might do to transition kids, as this conversation goes, may have zero to do with technology and all to do with increasing meaning and a parent's sense of comfort and a student's sense of belonging. So that's really the spirit the book is written in. Julie, I can't wait to hear how people kind of respond and what they share with this. Thank you for taking a risk to try this crazy multi-Facebook maneuver. And now I'm scared because I'm going to try to flip over again to the next person, but stay with me, okay? Don't leave me alone.
Okay,
I'm going to invite
right.
Katie a second ago was with. I'm going to try to go back to Katie if I can do this right. And Katie, if I don't grab you or get you on screen right away, try me again on that link. So actually, Julie, I'll say good night to you. I'll see you on the Twitter Underground Book Club chat if you're able to make that. And here goes nothing with Katie. Thank you again, friend.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to be a pro at this by the time the night's done, maybe. Okay, so Katie, if you try me again, I should be able to get you on. And I'm also going to look. We had Kimberly lined up too. We'll see if I can get her on here too. If anyone has like a how to use Facebook Live YouTube channel, subscribe me to that. Like right now, I need that. Okay. Here we go. I think what I'll do while I'm waiting to see a notification from Katie or Kimberly to bop on in our, oh my goodness, time just flew tonight too. I think I want to enter into one other question that we had on from somebody on the underground here. So I had printed out. Question is about school assemblies. And here's the interesting thing. The epilogue is all about legacy. And I think a lot of times this is the catch-22 with legacy and traditions in school. Sometimes traditions, not sometimes, lots of times there's some of the most powerful things we have, but also they can be powerful things that maintain things that we don't necessarily want maintained. So there's that push-pull on how do we honor traditions, but also have our legacy be one that's growth-minded. Okay, Katie, maybe we'll put her on the spot and have her answer the question I was just getting into. Fingers crossed. I'm feeling good about this connection right now. Katie!
Yay!
Yes! We are crushing it now.
Good job.
Katie, I don't want to waste time, valuable time, because I want to just get to you and honor you and thank you for being here. Can you give us just a super quick introduction of your role, your connection to the book, and then we'll put you on the spot and maybe ask you a question that everyone can kind of answer together. So introduce yourself, Katie.
I am Katie Norton. I teach kindergarten in Fishers, Indiana. And I found your book just, I think, on Twitter, and I was really excited about it. And I heard your podcast with Greg Goins, I believe, a while back. So, and I've been loving your book. I've had a lot of awesome takeaways.
Awesome. Hey, thanks. So I forgot about the kindergarten connection. I actually remember that from your Twitter bio. So I'm going to actually go back a question. Julie had mentioned meaningful transitions for kiddos and supporting that. So as a kindergarten teacher, are you aware of, or are you doing anything that you're seeing that's meaningful either to your kinder kiddos or the parents who are obviously really interested in their success and transition?
Yeah, so we have an awesome person in our district. She's not in our district, but she does a lot of, she's doing a transition night for all the preschool families and kind of setting the stage for how best can your preschooler transition to kindergarten, and kind of giving the rundown on what we, how we want to kind of go alongside their student and guide them instead of just regurgitate things and have them sit and get So she's been an awesome resource, kind of transitioning into kindergarten, but just collaborating with teachers of, grade level above or at a different school, I think gives the kids that comfort of they know a teacher's face, and just helps to make that transition smooth.
That's really cool. We have a teacher in our school, intermediate grade, who will actually once a year have a reunion with her former class. Even if kids have gone, whether it's boundary changes or moves, they're all invited back, and they have a indoor picnic because it's in the winter. And I've seen kids, her musicians who love music, they're playing their guitar, just really cool, awesome. I think they maybe even do a gift exchange, but it's one of the most powerful ways where relationships happen over time. And actually, I might have even mentioned that in the book. I'm not sure.
Yes.
So, Katie, time went way too fast tonight, partially because I struggled to get people on and all that jazz. But I would love to tap into your wisdom and heart a little bit. Any question or advice or reflection that you want to share before we all hop on over to Twitter?
Yeah, I loved the part about knowing the learner and just how we need to be careful the approach. We're advocating for what's really about the students in front of us today and not the students last year or when we started teaching. I just thought that was really important, and getting teachers to kind of get on board with this empowerment and kind of moving away from that traditional teaching. I think it's hard for us to look at what our students are into right now because we may not understand it, and it's just hard to change. So I think that letting the students share kind of their experience, and I think their voice is so valuable. And other than Twitter and in newsletters, I'm just kind of stuck on other ways that students can kind of promote this type of change and really get teachers and parents on board.
I think part of the solution lies in us, which is this whole spirit of this book, that we are the solution. And when we're sharing, it's not just to shine the light on our kids or the colleagues that we serve and work with, but it's also that we kind of share some of the best and brightest practices that are empowering kids, and we can learn so much for one another. And that's an important thing to do too. So on that note, we're gonna transition to the Underground Book Club after party on Twitter, where Chris Dodge and the Quita Outlaw are going to tear it up. It's going to be good. Katie, I wish we had more time. And to everyone else who I was hoping to connect with, I am so sorry. I will learn how to use Facebook better, but I just feel blessed that I was able to connect with the people I could, and we'll get them next time. Katie, thank you a lot. Appreciate your engagement with the book, and we'll be in touch. We'll take care.
Awesome.
All right. See ya.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on Twitter.